But I just want to give a quick opportunity to our partners as well to give their reflections, and then obviously we'll open it up if there's any other comments from the participants. So over to you, Dion.
Thank you. And the assignment here is, how do we build a community of practice around anti-corruption in Southern Africa? And reflecting on what we have heard today, it is quite clear that you only build communities of practice if you have common accepted standards around which you can rally people. Otherwise, there will not be a community. There will not be a common sense around which people would get together in this community. And I think we've seen a number of examples this morning and this afternoon as well, around certain common corporate governance standards, around certain industry transparency standards, about standards for being taken up in a stock exchange like we've seen in Nigeria. So I would say this is a first condition for building such a community of practice. But then a second aspect which also struck me is that it is important that we harvest our collective action efforts, harvest in the sense of making the fruits of collective action permanent, in the sense of writing them into policy, into regulations, into law, into listing requirements for stock exchanges. That's a way of making the good practice that were born out of collective action into something permanent, and building that community at a point where even the initial actors are no longer needed in order to continue with this community of good practice. And then I think you only build communities by getting together. I don't know about communities who don't get together. Getting together like we are doing today, I think, is a key aspect of building communities of good practice. And if I just reflect on what has happened here today, the mutual learning, the new networks that have been formed, a lot of new ideas that have been born and that I can promise you will be built on. And from that perspective, I would like to thank you and your team and the Basel Institute on Corporate Governance for creating this platform. And I think it's now up to us as a Southern African community to start reflecting on how do we take it forward, because it's such a precious opportunity and we need to have more of these. Otherwise, the community won't prosper and there won't be a community of good practice in Southern Africa. So thanks a lot for that.
Thanks, Dion. I don't have much to add to that, but just coming from civil society, just to remind you, the Southern Africa Anti-Corruption Network, is we often spend a lot of our time beating on our chest, complaining about how terrible the region is and how we're never going to get this right. But what today has shown is that there is a space for communication between business, the private sector, the public sector, civil society, and it's not something that we in the SADC region have been taking enough advantage of. And so this has really been to open the door for civil society to be able to knock on the private sector's door, the public sector, and find ways to work together. So like Dion said, we need to build this community, and this has been really the first step, and we hope that we can continue this engagement. We're a mentee of the Basel Institute, and we've actually met a lot of other SADC organizations that we weren't even aware of. So that's really for us, is that this is the door that's been opened, because a lot of the time the policy is there, the regulations are there, but we don't even know how to interpret it, and we've gotten a lot of tips today on that. So thank you very much for that, Scarlett, and for all your support that we get.
Thank you. And also, just following up on that in terms of moving it forward, very much from our perspective, I think we are sure, having met so many of committed institutions and experts here today, that will be a fantastic opportunity really to put that into action, and with your leadership and everybody else who's here. I mean, we're working sort of more at the international level, but happy, of course, to support in any way. And I think for me, one of my main takeaways was just hearing some of those conversations or bilateral conversations here as well about people already mentioning, oh, it's interesting, we can just integrate that into our system. Maybe we don't have to also create this, that's fantastic. And seeing where there is that opportunity to collaborate and just to connect and maybe be more efficient in the way that we also communicate with the private sector. So we're really looking forward to continuing that conversation and hearing about all of the hopefully impactful initiatives that develop out of this. So looking forward to that. Just wanted to open up if there's any questions, comments, ideas about looking into the future and what you're taking away, feel free. I know it's been a long day and we're all ready for a glass of wine, but I just wanted to give the opportunity in case there's a final. Yes, please, we do have a final comment from Lola.
Final comment. In the resurrection sessions.
Yes, we're still doing it.
But very, very final comment. I think there's been lots of really good takeaways, but one that I will take away is, and Masilo mentioned it, is the link between all the work we do on anti-corruption and good democratic governance. We are very much in the weeds on anti-corruption, but it's really important that all the pillars of democracy are strengthened as well, not just anti-corruption reform, but citizens' participation, elections, because we may not have had the resurrection story that Masilo had if the wheels of democracy did not turn such that we've seen elections and we're still not sure which way things would blow in Kenya and Nigeria, and in West Africa we've seen unconstitutional changes in government and coups, and those things just stall anti-corruption efforts no matter how hard fought they are. And so the connection between what we do and strengthening democracy, really important, and I'm taking that away because that's where SIPE works, at the intersection between democracy and private sector, and anti-corruption is one of the pillars we work on.
Thank you, Lola. Do I see any immediate hands? Otherwise, I will take the opportunity just to thank our partners again, all of you here. It's been a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much for all of your engagement, and we look forward to now taking this out into the restaurant area and having a glass of wine and toasting to all of you. So thank you so much, and we look forward to continuing this discussion. Let's all enter into the less formal part of the JSE. So thank you again.